every single day, you've got to win the day. Just win today. Just worry about today. Make a habit of winning today. I move forward a little bit every single day. It's a basic concept. It's the tortoise and the hare, man. If you give a purposeful effort into winning your day, that long game will become very short, very quick. Because when you're winning every day, guys, and you're doing things, you start to develop something called confidence, okay? And confidence is where you can lay down at night and close your fucking eyes and see the vision that you want to see and actually believe that you're going to be able to achieve it. I have a thing that I've been using for win the day, all right? It's called the power list. The way the power list works is this. You're going to take out a sheet of paper, and you're going to write at the top, day 1, Monday. You're going to take the list, you're going to number it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down the page, all right? And you're going to put in those spaces 5 critical tasks that you're going to do that day. This is actionable things that you are going to do. Critical tasks that will move you forward, all right? After I do all my things, I'm gonna cross it off. And at the end of those 5 things, guess what? I put a W on the page for a win. Go to the next day. Same things, all right? Let's say 30 days in. My list looks pretty much the same. I look back at it. It's 5 critical tasks that are pretty much the same task, all right? So now 30 days in, I look back and I see all these crosses and all these W's, like all the cross-offs of the list and all these W's. So what am I doing? I'm creating momentum. I'm creating momentum in things that I didn't believe I could do. And when you create momentum in things you didn't believe you could do, guess what starts to happen? You start to believe it. Once the things that you put on there become natural for you, where you feel like you don't need to write them down anymore, that's when you stop putting them on the list, because they are your new habits. You don't need a reminder to do those things. You don't need to cross those things off because you're gonna fucking do them. And that's what the power list does. It helps you win the day. I promise you that if you do this power list the right way, and you can do it for a fucking year straight, you will not be a year ahead. You will be 5 fucking years ahead of where you were today. It's about 5 times a day doing something that's a little bit uncomfortable.
The human heart is a 4-chambered muscular organ, shaped and sized roughly like a man's closed fist, with 2/3 of the mass to the left of midline. The heart is enclosed in a pericardial sac that is lined with the periosteal layers of a serous membrane. As a central part of the circulatory system, the heart is primarily responsible for pumping blood and distributing oxygen and nutrients throughout the body. Because of this task, the heart may be considered one of the most important organs of the body, such that even small dysfunctions or abnormalities may cause drastic changes of effects in the human organism. So the heart is a muscle whose working mechanism is made possible by many parts that operate together. The organ is divided into several chambers that take and distribute oxygen, poor or oxygen-rich blood. These chambers are accompanied by veins and arteries that facilitate the same function, with all of its parts working together towards the same goal. The heart successfully pumps blood with ease. Normally, a good functioning adult heart could go on 3 cardiac cycles or 72 beats per minute. This rate changes for children whose heart rates are normally and relatively faster. The heart can be found at the chest center, underneath the sternum in a thoracic compartment. It comprises 4 chambers and several valves that regulate the normal flow of blood within the body. 2 chambers called atria are located in the upper portion of the heart, with the left atrium receiving oxygen, rich blood, and the right receiving oxygen, which is the free blood. The valves that separate these chambers are called the atrioventricular valves, composed of the tricuspid valve of the left and the mitral valve on the right. On the other hand, Ventricles are chambers found on the lower portion of the heart. They pump oxygen-enriched blood into the body's organs, reaching even the smallest cells. Similar to the atria, the bulbs also separate the ventricular chambers, collectively termed as the semilunar bulbs. These are comprised of the pulmonary and the aortic bulbs. So the heart also has a wall that is composed of three layers. The first is the outer layer, which is we call the epicardium, which is the thin layer. The middle layer, which is the myocardium, which is the thick layer. And the innermost layer, endocardium, which is also the thin layer. The myocardium is thick because it's made up of cardiac muscle fibers. The heart structure is made more complex because of the mechanisms that allow blood to be distributed throughout the body and return to the heart. Facilitating this continuous process are two types of blood vessels, the veins and the arteries. The vessels that bring oxygen-free blood back into the heart are called veins. Those that bring oxygen-rich blood away from the heart and the other body parts are called arteries. Functioning in the left ventricle, the largest artery is called the aorta. The aorta is considered a main artery in the body. It further splits into two smaller arteries called common iliac arteries. So with regular functioning, the heart can continuously supply a sufficient amount of oxygen to all parts of the body. So the heart has two atria that serve as receiving chambers and two ventricles that serve as pumping chambers. It's enclosed in a tough membranous sac called the pericardium. The cavity between it and the heart is filled with pericardial fluid, which reduces friction between the sac and beating heart. The right side pumps the oxygenated blood to the lungs, while the left side pumps oxygenated blood to all other tissues. During sudden exercise, the left ventricle has an increased demand to deliver blood, leading to hypertrophy.
What event take place that allow the heart to contract, and how is the heart rate controlled? The heart is an organ about the size of your fist that pumps blood through your body. It is made up of multiple layers of tissue. Your heart is at the center of your circulatory system. This system is a network of blood vessels such as arteries, veins, and capillaries. The impulse starts in a small bundle of specialized cells located in the right atrium called the SA node. The electrical activity spreads through the walls of the atria and causes them to contract. This forces blood into the ventricles. The SA node sets the rate and rhythm of your heartbeat.
What is torsional contractions of the heart?
Torsion of the left ventricle, or LV, is the ringing motion of the ventricle around its lung exists induced by constructing myofiber in the LV wall. There's one during initial isovolumic contraction. The apex and the base both rotate in the counterclockwise direction. 2. When viewed the apex to the base. Why it is important during exercise? As inotropy also increases during exercise, more potential energy is produced during cycle through vigorous twisting contractions, resulting in greater diastolic and twisting, and therefore allowing for diastolic filling to occur more rapidly.
The difference between diastole and systole. When we say diastole and systole are two phases of cardiac cycle. They occur as the heart beats, pumping blood through a system of blood vessels that carry blood to every part of the body. Systole occurs when the heart contracts to pump blood out, and diastole occurs when the heart relaxes after contraction.
In the fifth question, What is relationship between pressure, flow, and resistance? When we say pressure, it is continuous physical force exerted on or against an object by something in contact with it. The second one is flow. Flow is a steady continuous stream of something. Lastly is resistance, the ability not to be affected by something or especially adversely. We can go back now to the question, what is relationship between pressure, flow, and resistance? The answer is blood flows from high to low pressure, and pressure differences from opposite ends of a vessel is what causes blood to flow. Resistance creates a difference in pressure and provides blood flow resistance.
Blood flow to the various regions of the body controlled. Blood flow through the body is regulated by the size of blood vessels, by the action of smooth muscle, by one-way valve, and by the fluid pressure of the blood itself. Blood flow through the capillary beds is controlled by precapillary sphincters to increase and decrease flow depending on the body's need, and is directed by nerve and hormone signals. Lymph vessels take fluid that has leaked out of the blood to the lymph nodes where it is cleaned before returning to the heart. Local control of blood flow refers to mechanisms intrinsic to the blood vessel and nearby parenchymal cells. These mechanisms include myogenic local control, metabolic local control, flow-mediated vasodilation, and flow controlled by intercellular conduction. The heart is a key organ, is a circulatory system responsible for the generation of pressure and thus flow throughout the system and pulmonary circulatory system. The heart contains 4 chambers, 2 atria and 2 ventricles.
Muscle blood flows increase in proportion to the intensity of activity, despite concomitant increases in the sympathetic neural discharge to the activity muscles, indicating a reduced responsiveness to the sympathetic activation. When a person takes part in their exercise, face can become pink due to the vasodilation of the blood vessels close to the skin surface. In the cold blood vessels at the skin surface close, this process is called vasoconstriction and takes blood away from the surface of the skin to help prevent it from losing heat. In skeletal muscle, activation of sympathetic nerves result in vasoconstriction. In contrast, increasing the metabolic activity of muscles fiber includes vasodilation. Articular diameter also reflect changes in transmural pressure and luminal blood flows.
Number 8. Describe the 3 important mechanisms of returning blood back to the heart when someone is exercising in an upright position. The 3 important mechanisms for returning blood back to the heart while exercising upright are: number 1. The metabolic regulation, which causes arterial stability by releasing vasodilation chemicals to allow more blood to flow to the area. The number 2 is the endothelium, which triggers immediate vasodilation, initiating the process of vascular growth in the brain that contains nitric oxide. And the last one is the metabolic response, which creates pressure inside the vessels, which it causes both vasodilation and vasoconstriction.
So the major functions of the blood. When we say blood has many different functions, including transporting oxygen and nutrients to the lungs and tissues, forming blood clots to prevent excess blood loss, carrying cells and antibodies that fight infections. The major functions of blood. The body contains 4 to 6 liters of blood with an average pH of 7.35 to 7.45. So the functions including transport oxygen, carbon dioxide, nutrients, hormones, heat, and metabolic waste. So next is regulation of pH, body temperature, and water content of cells. The next one is protection against blood loss and through clotting, protection against disease through phagocytic white blood cells, and